Hold on.
All right, peace and blessing, everybody. Welcome to Speaking with A Johnny Talk Show. I'm your host, A Johnny Bakari. I come to you with a special episode with a special guest host, which is Brother Ben here, which is known as Benny Blacko on Facebook, or also Ben Kessie. He has a few accounts, but this is a brother that I've been very fond of, and we've had plenty of conversations about many of things on our Facebook account. So today we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving, and also we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving and Kanye West getting in trouble with anti-Semitic quote unquote tropes, and also Dave Chappelle, who recently just had a SNL skit, and he also got in trouble with the ADL regarding his monologue about Kyrie Irving and what happened with Ye. But we're gonna go let the brother introduce himself. Go ahead, brother Ben. Let everybody know who you are. Say what's up to the peoples.
Peace, family. How y'all doing, man? Thanks for having me on, brother Johnny. My name is Ben Black. People know me as Ben Black, Ben Kessie, Benny Blacko. Couple aliases. You know they always shutting us down on Facebook as truth tellers. So gotta have these backup accounts. Aliases as how we do in the criminal world, right? When boys come, you got to give them a fake name, right? A backup name,
You
backup
got
account.
you got to trick the algorithm. The algorithm will get you in trouble on Facebook for sure. So again, I appreciate you, brother, coming on. As you know, I have my show for a while. I haven't done it for a while because I haven't felt like there was a good topic to discuss, nor with anybody in general. But I'm glad you came on because we're gonna have a great discussion. So let's just get right into it. Let's go right to it. So Kyrie Irving is supposedly coming back Sunday. I don't know if you heard that. The report today says
I
he's coming
heard,
back Sunday
I
to
heard.
play in the Barclays Center, but he got in trouble for posting about a documentary that he watched, and he watched a documentary which he was able to get on a famous streaming platform, and he just posted the cover of the documentary, which is known as Hebrew to Negroes. But prior to that, Kanye West got himself in
Mhm.
trouble with the ADL because originally what happened was someone asked him about black people, and he mentioned how he would rather celebrate Hanukkah than Kwanzaa because in Hanukkah they get money in businesses. And we all know once you mention those type of things when it comes to the small hat folks, you get in trouble when you mention that to them. So, brother Ben, you are very familiar with this because you are affiliate with the Nation of Islam, and obviously
Yes, sir.
Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam has been known for being anti-Semitic. They've always gone at Farrakhan and obviously Dr. Khalid, Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad. Everybody's been in trouble with the nation when it comes to the Jewish community. So go ahead and speak on that as I get the stuff ready to so we can get started about why they're in trouble.
Real quick? Do you have that clip of Dave Chappelle when he said the J word?
Yeah, yes, indeed, I do, and I can go right on ahead and put that up if that's what you want to go ahead and.
Yes, sir. We can go. We can
Um,
go behind that.
all right, so let me go ahead and do that right here. Give me a second. Um, so basically, that was the start for Kanye because Kanye said that, and then
Said the J word.
once Kanye said that, he went on the Drink Champ show and he said some more quote unquote anti-Semitic stuff that got him in trouble. Eventually he got dropped from Gap and he got dropped from what's it called Adidas.
Yes,
Uh, they all
Balenciaga, all of
yeah
them. Hmm.
yeah. So
All of them.
all of them. So let's go ahead and listen to what Dave Chappelle had to say.
Thank you very much for being here. But before I start tonight, I just wanted to read a brief statement that I prepared. I denounce anti-Semitism in all its forms, and I stand with my friends in the Jewish community. And that, Kanye, is how you buy yourself some time. I gotta tell you guys, I've probably been doing this 35 years now. And early in my career, I learned that there are two words in the English language that you should never say together in sequence. And those words are the and Jews. I've never heard someone do good after they said that.
All right, so the brilliance of Dave Chappelle. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Masterfully executed, man.
Go ahead,
Um,
brother.
For me, man, the very first time I ever heard that this was such a even a topic was me hearing the Minister Farrakhan, and there was a lecture that he was presenting. It was called "I Will Be the Winner," and in that lecture, he was just talking about these bankers, the way that they acquired the power,
Mhm.
to rule the world, and he was just going down a list of things that happened throughout history, and that was the first time I ever heard anything like that, or anybody talk like that or point in that direction. He said, everything that I'm saying right now, you go out back in the world and you can find it in a book. It's your job now to go and look for these things in a book. Later on, he talked about how when Jesse Jackson was running for president, the the Jews threatened the J word, right? That's the word, right? You don't say that word.
The small hats, the small hats.
they they uh they threatened to kill Jesse Jackson. You know what I mean?
Wow.
They threatened his life. You know what I mean? And this is when the minister stood up. You know, at that time he wasn't really worried about being out in the public like that. He was just, this was like the early stages of rebuilding the Nation of Islam in the early '80s, when Jesse Jackson was also running for president. And he said that he just couldn't let these people go after his brother like that. So he came out to defend Jesse. And he didn't know at the time, this is his words, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't know at the time that he was getting himself into such a fight that has carried on as it has now. But when he went to defend Jesse Jackson, that's when, they came out. Man, I should have sent you that clip when they was chanting, "Kill Farrakhan," basically the Jews. How do we want them? We want them dead. Have you seen that? Have you seen that clip?
Wow. No, I've never seen it. I know Farrakhan and the ADL and the Jewish community has always had a lot of issues, obviously, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't hear that one before. But I'm not
Yes,
shocked by that. Trust me, there's nothing that shocks me by the small hats.
yes, sir.
Trust me.
Yes, sir.
So
So the anybody who attempts to say anything in that exposes their, I guess, their workings, you know what I mean, like what they're doing, their anti-blackness gets in trouble, so to speak, you know what I mean. So that's what Kanye did. That's what Dave Chappelle did, right? Kyrie, I wouldn't say necessarily was calling out Jews. He more so was pointing to something that was shedding light on who we are, which is something that they work really hard to suppress.
yes,
So,
yes. Yeah,
you know,
it definitely definitely when it comes to what that documentary talks about, which is basically black people being a part of the Hebrew heritage or the Hebrew religion in general and being the true Israelites of the Bible, which we'll get more into, but that shows how much it broadens out, right? By how they use anti-Semitism, right? Because
yes,
basically what Kanye was saying was the music industry is run by Jewish people. And these are the people that are getting paid off of the type of music that we call negative, that we don't think is a positive effect on our community. But yet again, they promote it. They're the ones behind it. They're the ones who
yeah,
fueled it.
and they
And you,
profit off of Black Death.
yeah, exactly. And you can't mention that. Also, the same thing, which is what Dave Chappelle was mentioning, that basically they run Hollywood.
That's right.
You can't talk about them. You basically can't criticize that community without getting heavily punished by them. And they have a lot of influence and a lot of power, but they like to use
And
that.
it goes and it goes beyond Hollywood. It also goes into the medical field.
Yeah,
It
yeah. Oh,
goes
yes.
into
We're gonna
education.
we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that because obviously that's what gets other people in trouble, right? Because we know
Yes, sir.
Jay Z got in trouble with them at once because he just said they own property in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mentioning Jewish finance or Jewish business,
Mm-hmm.
a success. is considered being anti-Semitic. And the reason they state that is because that was one of the reasons Hitler stated they needed to get out of Germany, was because he said, if you look around Germany and see who is the ones who are in power, who are the most influential, who have the most money, who controls the most business, it's the truth. They own the banking system. And that's what they do. And they know that. And the reason they know that is because, they they'll tell you this, if you really get a chance to talk to Jewish people, they don't hesitate to tell you why they are the way they are and why they believe what they believe in. And we even got one of the prime minister or former prime minister here coming out, and she stated something. Hold on here. Excuse me there, but yeah, she comes on here, and this is from Democracy Now! That I'm about to put this clip on, and this is a clip from Democracy Now! That they asked about the anti-Semitic, term and how it's used in America and why they use it. So let's go to that.
Often when there is dissent expressed in the United States against policies of the Israeli government, people here are called anti-Semitic. What is your response to that as an Israeli Jew?
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When from Europe somebody is criticizing Israel, then we bring out the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then there are anti-Semitic. And the organization is strong and has a lot of money, and the ties between Israel and the American Jewish establishment are very strong, and they are strong in this country. As you know, they have power, which it's okay. They are talented people, and they have power, money, and media, and other things. And their attitude is Israel, my country, right or wrong. They identify fiction. And they are not ready to hear criticism. And it's very easy to blame people who criticize certain acts of the Israeli government as anti-Semitic, and to bring up the Holocaust and the suffering of the Jewish people. And that justify everything we do to the Palestinians.
All right, so you heard what she stated. She basically stated that they use that term to basically keep people in check. It's a way to show their power, to influence their power. Once you consider the anti-Semitic, that's basically it. And because, like she said, they have so much power, they have so much influence, they control all the publication, they do all of that. They can control the narratives and everything that goes along with that. So at the end of the day, that's a Jew saying that, but they're not considered anti-Semitic, right? They can say those type of things, right, but not be considered anti-Semitic. So again, this is what they use, and obviously you stated it. Can you go ahead and elaborate further on that?
Yes, sir. It's like she said, it's a trick. It's identical. So the Most High Elijah Muhammad teaches us that all white people are Jewish, right? Mm-hmm. All white people fall under the banner of Jewish, and it's identical to, let's say, because we're also used to, I guess, differentiating between white folks and Jewish people. Like, we think they're different, but they're really the same people if you really understand, right? When let's go over to white people, right? The everyday white people. When we deal with racism, we catch them doing racist things, and then we call them out. They turn around, they try to do what we know as reverse racism. You know what I mean? They try to back you up off of them with calling you racist for calling them out, right? When you caught them calling you nigga, or caught them, being a Karen, you know what I'm saying, or a Ken, you know what I mean? They start calling you all kinds of race, like you're the racist. You're the one that's attacking them for defending yourself, you know what I'm saying, against what they're doing to you. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same exact tactic when we're talking about anti-Semitism. When they throw out the title of anti-Semitism, when you're calling out their actions towards the Black community, when you're calling out the things that they do as a collective, they throw out the anti-Semite thing, you know what I mean? And most of us are scared of them. You know what I mean? So we're scared of, we've been conditioned to fear that label. You know what I'm saying? If you walk up to any white-minded black person, right? Any white any white-minded person, right? Whether they're Spanish, any indigenous, type of people that you can name, right? And
Uh-huh.
you try to hit them with the racist, you're racist. Oh, watch how they get in a frenzy, right? They got to defend that with their life. You know what I'm saying? There's something attached to that that makes us so fearful, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, when we're coming into the consciousness of ourselves, when we're becoming, um, strong in what we know, right? Somebody like Kyrie or other people like Kyrie who begin to identify with their culture, and you always hear them every other sentence. Well, I'm not racist, but I'm not racist, but I don't got to explain myself to you. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to make you understand that I'm not being racist for loving my own. You know what I'm saying? So that comes with this thing, this anti-Semite label,
Mm-hmm.
or your racist label. That's what comes with that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's the fact that you brought that up is something that I wanted to bring up too, because I've been called a racist a lot, and to
Mhm.
me it really just brushes off my shoulder, because like I tell people, once you start personalizing the conversation, it becomes where you're not really attacking the truth. You're not really attacking what I'm talking about in general, and that's what they actually do when they do anti-Semitic. Because as an example, everyone who called this movie supposedly an anti-Semitic trope never watched the film. It's a
Nope.
3-hour documentary. They
Mhm.
never watched the film.
Nope.
And just like Kanye said, that the people who are anti-Semitic are the people that allow the type of music that says, "I'ma fuck your bitch, I'ma kill this nigga, I'ma
Perfect.
fuck your bitch,
Right.
I'ma kill this nigga." And
That's right.
even the executive, record exec, went on the Breakfast Club and admitted that
Mhm.
he's still going to sell these type of records because he has to earn a living. He has to make money. Although he can sell positive rap music, because
Mhm.
black folk have been
Mhm.
buying positive music for decades. It's no reason why we wouldn't buy them now. But you
Mhm.
choose to sell us this. You feed us this because you don't really care about the community, like Damon Dash used to always say. That's why Damon Dash got kicked out of the industry, because again, they, like you say, they have that much power, but they use that against you. And the funny thing is, like I said, they don't even really understand what they're using. And they understand that people don't, because they control the masses, they don't really understand what's called the anti-Semite, right? So in reality, like you were saying, you call them all Jews, right? That
Mhm.
was what was taught to you from Elijah Muhammad. But they had so much power in Europe. They've always had
Mhm.
power. That fear that you see that they're instilling in the industry and what they're doing now, they were doing that in Europe for
Mhm.
hundreds of years. They've
Mhm.
had control of Europe for hundreds of years.
Mhm.
They are the
Until
ones who,
Hitler came.
yeah,
Right.
they're the ones who financed
Right.
the European wars and everything.
Mhm.
They financed the slave
Mhm.
trade. They
Mhm.
financed everything. They were the merchants of Europe. They were the ones going to
They financed Hitler. Go ahead.
they were the ones that were sending them to the Crusades in the Middle
Mhm.
East during
Mhm.
the plague and during the around that era in the Middle
Yes,
Ages.
sir.
They were the ones going into Africa and trading and
Mhm.
getting the spices. They were the ones that knew stuff, that
Mhm.
because 95% of Europeans were illiterate. You see what
Mhm.
I'm saying? But these small population of people who will consider themselves Jews were able
Mhm.
to create a community around themselves, and they created a
Mhm.
real community. They are the number
Yes,
one
sir.
community-based people. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So and they use that to their advantage, but they like to say that you're anti-Semitic, but what is a Semite, right?
Well,
What you know what I'm saying? Go
before
ahead.
before we get into what a Semite is, right?
Uh-huh.
A little more to add to what you're saying. Um, Anytime an indigenous person is being their natural self, it's offensive to them. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
offensive when you're being your natural self. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that triggers
Mm-hmm.
the anti-Semitic charge. You know what I mean? You being yourself, you showing love for yourself, you showing concern for your community, your kind, your people. You know what I mean? Anytime you talk like that, they throw out, oh, you're racist. That's
No.
the reverse psychology. There, you know what I'm saying? The person who's not too conscious, it scares them away from that. You know what I'm saying? It scares them away from wanting to be, black,
And
proud,
outspoken, and
and
outspoken, and
outspoken,
outspoken.
and speak, defending your own, and anything in that department. You know what I'm saying? When you show love for your kind and your people, you are racist. You know what I'm saying? You are a anti-Semite. So yes, sir. What is a Semite?
Yeah. We're gonna get to that, but I'm gonna just add one thing to that. The funny thing is that black people are actually the only people who aren't racist. Because if black people were actually racist, we would benefit a lot more in this country. The people who benefit are actually the most racist people, because you have to stick with your own. Dr. Claude Anderson said it the best: it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. So, but what I got,
the definition of racism. Well, the racism that we hate, is prejudice plus power.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
wanted to
It's
add
prejudice.
that to it.
Yeah, it's prejudice plus power. That's true racism at its finest, at its finest. But let's go to what a Semite is, right? Because they keep saying you're anti-Semitic, and one of Kyrie's famous lines, which was they couldn't accept, was him saying, "I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know who I am."
Not at
Correct?
yourself.
Remember him saying that? And
Yes,
even
sir.
Kanye said himself, he's a Jew. They're Jews. Black people are Jews. So let's see what an actual Semite is by definition. Okay, so let's get to it here.
We can't be anti-Semitic. That's just like the main thing I think we need to get to right here.
So let me just pause that right there. So as y'all can read, what a Semitic person is right here, it's an adjective, okay, relating or constituting a subfamily of Afro-Asiatic languages family that includes Hebrew, Aramaic, Arabic, and is that Amharic? I don't know if I can say that correctly.
Amharic. That's
Amharic.
That's what the language that Isa spoke.
Okay, appreciate that.
Amharic.
Thank you.
The Ethiopians. Amharic.
Mm-hmm.
This point, Afro-Asiatic languages: Hebrew, Aramaic, Arabic. Black folks.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can end the line.
Black folks. For y'all to can't process it as black folks. Black folks. That's all you gotta know. Black folks.
Exactly. It's black folks, like you said. It's black folks. So here it is. The noun Semite, a member or any member of peoples who are ancient Southwestern Asia, including the Akkadians, Phoenician, Hebrews, and Arabs. Okay, and this is what they are saying. You're anti-Semite, but what Kyrie Irving and them are basically saying is like, well, we can't be anti-Semite because all we're trying to do is find our heritage. So there are Black Americans that believe that they are true Hebrew Israelites, that they were sent here through the slave trade, and they're using the Bible, they're using actual theology to do this. They're not just picking this up out of nowhere. This is nothing new. This is this is Black history at its finest. If you are a true conscious person, if you study this is actually a part of your phase of becoming conscious. You go through understanding
who you are. If you look, my people. Let me say this to y'all. You are royal. You are from a royal bloodline. This is aside from the religious labels. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. All of us come from a royal. We are the first people. We are God's people. You know what I mean? We are the people that all people came from. We gave birth to the whole human family. So that makes us royalty. And this is something that is being hidden from us. This is, it hurts those that don't have the knowledge of themselves. And this is what Kyrie was pointing to. He has a knowledge of himself. He knows who he is. This is why he can't hate himself, right? This is what he's saying. The minister said that the true anti-Semite is them. They are the ones that hate Black people. You know what I mean? They are the ones that throughout history have exhibited a hatred for all indigenous people. You know what I mean? So if you understand this, who the minister said, well, the real anti-Semites stand up. It's not us. You know what I mean? It's them. They have exhibited hatred. Even in the scriptures, it talks of, Jesus is having an argument with them. And Jesus is telling them that you are not of the same, we don't have the same father. This is in the Bible. He says, your father is the devil. You know what I mean? He's saying this to the Jews.
Yes.
So, They
Ye are
killed
the
Jesus.
synagogues of Satan. That's
Right.
that's the words that they put
Right.
in the Bible.
Right.
Yes.
Jesus
Yeah.
was a Semite. They hated Jesus for the truth he spoke. You know what I mean? So they're gonna have to say that the Bible and the Holy Scriptures are also anti-Semitic as well. They're gonna have to do that as well. But
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and the thing about them, you saying these things about being anti-Semitic is that they try to say these are the catalysts that begins to the Holocaust, right? That's what they like to say. History repeats itself. If you don't know your history, well, when we bring up things like this and we bring up how this is a part of our history, this is a catalyst that got us enslaved. This is what made us this is what got us into the tyranny of white supremacy and what they've been able to do, and they've been at the forefront of white supremacy. You see what I'm trying to say? They benefited from white supremacy. You see what I'm trying to say? They've been able. They've been able to come to this country and shed their Jewish heritage to be white, correct? And over 90% of Jewish Americans consider themselves to be white as a racial identity. So they have a history of being a part of our tyranny and our oppression and everything, but we can't show that to them. We can't express, well, listen, you were a part of this, you have something to do with this, and still you have something to do this to this day, because in basketball or in sports, majority of the owners are Jewish. You see what I'm saying? So majority of the agents are Jewish. Majority of the managers are Jewish. You see what I'm trying to say? The most of the finance people that they go to, you see what I'm saying? That their accountants are Jewish. The people that manage their business, and so you always have to run into one of them eventually as you going down the line when you're doing this, especially when you're in that kind of an industry. So they have a history of being a part of this tyranny that we talk about every day as Black people, but we can't use that as a catalyst, and we can't be reminded by their behavior of what they can do to us. But they can use their sensitivities and say, well, this is similar to what Hitler did. This is the catalyst, because what's next is the concentration camps. You hear them say it all the time. You know what I'm saying? And it's them really reaching. They really do reach. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like, so they use that.
It's truth mixed with falsehood. It's a whole lot of things mixed up in there. It's not just one thing. You know what I mean? But the majority of it though is they have stolen a birthright. They have stolen an identity. You know what I'm saying? And they have the world thinking that they are God's people. You know what I mean? They have according to the scriptures, but they are not. The scriptures talk about the prophecy. Just, this is for you people who are non-religious. You know what I mean? You may not know, how they attach themselves or to this prophecy. The prophecy begins with Abraham. And Abraham had two sons, and there was a dream that he had, and in the dream it says that his descendants shall be strangers in a foreign land for a period of 400 years, and in that land they shall be oppressed, and at a certain time God will come to deliver them from this bondage. That's just the gist of it. But these Caucasians, right, are saying that they are the people that scripture is talking about. They're saying that they are the people that were taken out of their homeland and put into bondage for 400 years and oppressed in a foreign land. And, God will come to deliver them, or God did come to deliver them from their bondage. But there's no record of that. They say that they were in bondage in Egypt, and they built the pyramids, in this bondage. You know what I'm saying?
We know that didn't happen. We know
It
that
didn't
didn't
happen,
happen.
and the Egyptians don't even have a record of that in their history anywhere. You know what I mean? So,
and they kept a meticulous record of everything,
yes, sir.
especially then.
Yes, sir. But the only people that does fit that description are the people who were taken out of Africa onto a westerly course and put in bondage or in servitude for over 400 years. And this is our people. So this is the discrepancy here. You know what I mean? They don't fit that description of a people who were in bondage for 400 years. Your people do. You know what I mean? My people do. So,
well, there's a book called The 13th Tribe, which talks
Yes.
about that. And I have that book here. I couldn't find it, but I do have that book, and I did read it. It was a little difficult at the time that I read it because it was talking about regions and peoples that I did not know in history, but it was still a deep book that talked about how the Ashkenazi Jew and the Sephardic Jews really come from a certain part
Caucasus Mountains.
called the Khazarian people, and
Mhm.
they adapted the Jewish religion as the religion of their own and created a whole society and culture behind it. Obviously, like you said. So yeah, again, so that's why they want to call us anti-Semitic, because their heritage is in question. And once you
Yes.
question their heritage, that to them,
Yes.
that means you have the right to, I guess, to harm them. But again, no one ever talks about harming them. No one talks about nothing like that. But they like to use that. So I'm going to use Dr. Khalid here, because Dr. Khalid is is another brother that was called anti-Semitic for the things that he says. And
Yes,
as
sir.
Dr. Khalid always says, he is for the people. So let's go ahead and get to this interview here, where he was basically interviewed by a brother in New York, and the brother was trying to get Dr. Khalid to speak ill, which Dr. Khalid never falters. He's always on his game. And let's go ahead and listen to how this brother tries to claim that Dr. Khalid is anti-Semitic and and how Dr. Khalid responds.
Mhm.
What happened in your life that gave you your personal experience, your perspective on Jews in your lifetime? Study, experience, living, studying the teachings of Dr. Yosef Ben Yaakov, studying the teachings of Dr. John Henry Clark, studying the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Malcolm X, the Honorable Mosiah Garvey, and the Louis Farrakhan, Dr. Darashango, and Browder, and Akbar, and many others. There are volumes of material, and even studying the book called The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, a book that thick with nothing but so-called Jew historians and scholars who explain their role in the Black or the African Holocaust. Do you have a Jewish friend? No, sir, I do not have a Jewish friend. I am the Black Jew. I am the Black Hebrew. I am a member of the family of the Black Hebrew Israelites. But if you're asking me, do I have a white so-called Jew friend who is not in that line of Semites, so I can't be anti-Semitic? Did you know that there are Semites in Africa? Did you know that there are Semites in Asia? That there are some Semites so black and purple black and beautiful? These are people using a political term, anti-Semitism, when it's really anti-Semitism and anti-black program.
So you gotta love Dr. Khalid. The brother always gave it to him straight up. He spoke the truth. He spoke the reality of what was going on. And like he said, they're using that as a political term because, like you said, black people want to identify themselves as God's people. You see what I'm saying? I had somebody in my comments trying to explain to me that basically, that Jews are the real Jews or whatever, and black people are just trying to claim it. I said, so you're basically trying to say black people can't be God's chosen people? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And with the definition of the term, it represents a language, a region. It doesn't represent a particular race. You see what I'm saying? Like he said, you can be, purple midnight black and be a Semite, or you can be light pale skin and be a Semite. But at the end of the day, a Semite is somebody who is a part of a culture, a heritage. You see what I'm trying to say? And
It's the
Hebrew,
bloodline.
yeah, it's
It's
a
a bloodline.
bloodline, but Hebrew's the bloodline because you know what I'm saying. There's different tribes. So there's being a Hebrew Israelite is also, like you said, attaching yourself to the Bible. They did that to themselves because they didn't write the Bible. They have nothing to do with what the Bible says. Nobody goes off of them being God's children by reading the Torah or by reading the Talmud. They read that. Those are their materials. The Christian people, like you say, that are afraid of them, who are looking at them as God's chosen people, are using the King James version of the Bible. You see what I'm saying? So it's not even like they're using the Jewish book to say that they're Jewish. So when black people say they're Hebrew Israelites, they have a right to say that. There's nothing wrong with them saying that, which is what I was going to get to about Kyrie and Ye not being wrong, because they're just trying, like you said, they're trying to represent who they are. Kanye believes he's a Christian. He believes he's a part of the bloodline of Christ, right? Which is what? A Hebrew. So that makes him a Hebrew Israelite. You see
So,
what I'm
so
saying?
I believe that one of the biggest confusions that our people suffer
Mhm.
from and has us in this, seriously confused is religion. You know what I'm saying? Religion.
Yes.
The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Islam is not a religion. Islam is our nature.
Okay.
So when I hear Kyrie saying what he's saying, I understand that he's talking about his nature, who what I mean, who he is as a as an original person, what I mean, in this world, what I mean, not based on somebody's book, somebody's permission to be a part of their club, or what I mean, this religious terms, what I mean, that a person can say, can either accept or reject you by, when we take away those titles, right, we're left with who we are, you know what I mean, like our nature, you know what I'm saying, who we are naturally. Like if I'm walking down the street and if I didn't know you, right,
Yes.
and you didn't open up, you didn't say one word to me, I could look at you and see that you one of my people. I know that just by looking at you. You know what I'm saying? You're one of my people. You know what I mean?
Nor would you have needed a book to know how to treat me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
exactly.
our nature. It's our natural self. It's who we are. You know what I'm saying? So, this is something that we have to understand. You know what I mean? These things have us divided and have us thinking that we are not each other's brother, you know what I'm saying? Or there's no kind of relation, you know what I'm saying, to one another. You know what I mean? Once we understand that, the unity will be like the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, our unity is as strong as atomic bomb. You know what I mean? So
And
that's what has us divided.
Yeah. And the reason we're divided is the lack of tolerance, right? Because
Yes, sir.
in the sense of what you just stated, there shouldn't be no reason why, even if even if someone called you, a Muslim for how you carry yourself from your nature, there should still be no difference between you and a Hebrew Israelite, or me, who carry more of a Rastafarian type of faith and ideology, you understand, or theology, right? Which is the real word. We were never a homogenous people, and that's another thing people have to understand about being an African, is that we were tolerant. We were so tolerant that we developed over 1,000 dialects, over 10,000 different languages, thousands of tribes. You don't get that by tyranny and oppressing people to believe what you believe in and act the way you act. You allow people to be who they are. Like you said, you don't need a book. You don't need to read the same book to treat me as a human. You understand, to be in your nature. So this is something we've always had. This is why I always tell people, because the Nation of Islam gets a lot of flack. You've obviously you know about that. And I always tell people, well, they're a black organization. They are who they are. They're doing what they do. You know what I'm saying? We have to tolerate them for who they are, and they have to tolerate us for what we do, because there's certain things that the Nation of Islam does that is great. As a perfect example, you don't have this book without the Nation of Islam. You see what I'm saying? This book right here tells you about things that we would have never learned. They dig deep. It took the Nation of Islam to get this book to get put together. You see what I'm saying? And we're going to dig into more about this book, because somebody here, Gat9, said there are Zionists and there are Hebrews. Amen to y'all, brothers. Just what my spirit needed. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. But like I was saying, there's a tolerance that we need to have
And he's correct. He's correct. There's a difference between Zionists and Hebrews. Yes, sir.
Yes. And there's even some Jews that'll tell you that. There's some Jews that'll tell you that that the Zionists are different. They're more greedy and more into their business and finance. Things of that nature.
Their book is the Talmud.
Yeah, exactly. But like I tell folks, at the end of the day, our unity is within tolerance. We cannot be trying to impose a one philosophy, one theology, and we cannot we cannot restrict someone's theology as long as it's in good behavior and in good character. Like you said, as long as it's within the nature of being an African. Like
so the messenger also teaches us that the language of the creator is mathematics.
Okay.
That's the language of the creator. You know what I mean? So when we understand mathematics, we know there's many ways to get to one. You know what I mean? And this person speaks this language, that person speaks that language, but we understand mathematics. 1 + 1 is 2. You know what I'm saying? No matter where you go. You know what I mean? It's a language, so in mathematics, you have different equations. You have different. I guess you could call these different equations different. Let's substitute equations to languages, right? Same thing. You know what I mean? But it's all mathematics.
Yeah, it translates to life. I tell people that all the time. Everything that I do in life is an
Mm-hmm.
equation. That, you know what I'm saying? If it don't add up, it just don't add up. If the math ain't mathing, like they would say in today's era,
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I'm saying? It ain't mathing. You know what I'm saying? But like you say, yeah, there's 1 + 1. There's 0.5 plus 1, plus 1.5. You know what I'm saying? There's different ways to cut this up. So the tolerance has to be there. And even some people would say the idea of believing you're a Hebrew Israelite comes from a false or a plagiarized story, right? You understand what I'm saying? But it's still our story at the end of the day. So it's not like it's understanding your history. But like I said, this is a phase we all go through. I went through this phase because we all grew up in a Christian background. So we learn trying to seek God through the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And then once you kind of get outside of the Bible, then you learn a little bit better about the Bible. But like I said, it takes being around people that you have to have these conversations. And the way the anti-Semitic thing goes along, they don't want nobody talking about this, especially Black folks. They don't want us being outspoken about this. For me, I don't think Kyrie and Ye was wrong. I've talked about this before. I know you don't think they're wrong.
No.
But again, Kyrie's not gonna. Kyrie's gonna come back. I guess he's gonna shut up for now.
Why you say that?
Because obviously he did whatever that list was. He completed it because obviously they didn't say
that's an assumption.
I know that's an assumption, but I'm just saying they didn't state they were backing down on what he had to do to come back. Their last words was he was progressing to come back, and now that he's back, I'm figuring he did some. I'm figuring he did some things. Because I didn't think he was going to come back. I literally thought I saw that list and said, man, Kyrie ain't coming back. Kyrie's not doing none of that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think he did any of that personally. Okay. I think that they just like the vaccines, right? A lot of people had a whole lot to say about the vaccines. You take the vaccine, you lose your job. People lost friends, people lost relationships. People lost their jobs, right? But here we are today, and people are winning lawsuits in the millions of dollars for unlawful terminations and whatnot. You know what I mean? People got their jobs back, right? They got their jobs back, but it's not because they took the vaccine, right? It's not because they buckled in and folded and followed their lists. You know what I'm saying? No, y'all wrong. You're dead wrong. You know what I'm saying? And people are speaking up, saying that about Kyrie. Y'all dead wrong. You know what I'm saying? And they're losing money.
Jaylen Brown, the vice president of the Player Association, did come out and speak against what they were doing to Kyrie. Some of those guys who were whipping him on national television came out and said that it was too excessive for what he wanted to what they wanted him to do to come back. But the brother Gat9 here asks, man, I thought the holy book was the Torah, or their holy book was the Torah. What's the Talmud? Can you explain what the Talmud? Would you like to explain that, Tim?
Talmud. Whoa, so
as brief as you can.
That's a like I want to just send him something so he can look at it himself. But the Talmud is totally different than the Torah, and just like you were saying, there are white Jews that talk about how Zionism has nothing to do with Moses and the Ten Commandments and those laws of God. It has nothing to do with that. When you open up the Talmud says that Jesus is boiling in hot excrement, aka hot shit, right? It talks about how it gives them permission to have sex with any little children that are not Jews. As long as they're not Jews, you can have sex with them.
Isn't the Talmud also the book that has Noah's son as the curse because he? That it's not the Talmud.
Let me see. Let me see if I can send it. I can't send this to you. You wouldn't be able to play it now, would you? If I send
I probably wouldn't be able to play it. But if you're interested, Ben Black has countless pages on Facebook, and he drops this information all the time. Right now, his official active account is Benny Blacko. That's the account that he's able to actually function on right now. So you can definitely get that information. But yes, they do have two books that they go off of. The Torah is supposed to be the first five books of the Bible, which is the Moses books, and then the Talmud is another book that they use, like you said, that have a lot of other stuff.
Tell him I just posted it on my Benny Blacko page. It's the first video. If you want to go to my page,
Okay.
it's a white Jewish man on there saying all of what I said and then some.
Okay.
But,
Well,
you'll hear that and be blown away. Like, wow, I can't believe that this is what you go by. Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, so like you said, man, these people have information. They have power and influence, and this is what they do, because see, a lot of the information that they have and that they carry in the resources, they keep it to themselves. Remember, I told you about how they built that community. So there's synagogues you can't enter. There's libraries, Jewish libraries, they will not let you enter. There's certain Jewish authors and historians that you won't find their material readily available in mainstream that talk about their history. But this is why this book here and the other volumes are very important, because this is actually a book that goes into that kind of research. And basically, it goes into the history of blacks and Jews. If you really want to go into the history of Black America, you cannot avoid the Jew. The Jew will be directly involved in every facet of Black American life from the beginning, from slavery all the way, like you said, from the continent, snatching Africans up from the continent. Ships were Jewish ships. Insurance companies were Jewish companies. All of these things that they run. And we're gonna get into it right here. We're gonna let the Minister Farrakhan explain why this book is so important and how they have been involved in so much when it comes to the to them being just involved, which is what they call you anti-Semitic for, because of stuff like this. Just stating their involvement in the slave trade is considered anti-Semitic. You cannot mention that. So let's let the minister talk here.
Because they did not want you to understand the connection that they have to the transatlantic slave trade. It's all documented. I mean, with thousands of footnotes, so that you wouldn't think we made this up. We quoted their scholars and showed you where you can go and get it for yourself. This is a scholarly work, not put together by nincompoops.
All right, so that's the Minister Farrakhan explaining how the secret relationships between blacks and Jews. I got volume 1 here. There's volume 2 and volume 3. Basically explains their involvement in the slave trade, just like the Catholic Church, and just like countless other Europeans who got wealthy and exploited the what they would call the time of the era of the zeitgeist, and they were involved in it. And just for y'all who want to question the minister and think that the minister is just talking and he's just, he's Farrakhan. A lot of people like to dismiss Farrakhan. We're going to give you one of your masses. We'll give you somebody that you believe that you would accept as someone that is valid information. And he goes in on his own people about this, because again, we like to tell people, we do the research. We take our time to do the research. We actually read. And that's what I love about the Nation of Islam. They get people corrected to read, research, understand who they are, and stand up for who they are. You understand what I'm trying to say? And like I tell people, you can be mad at the Nation of Islam all you want, but they got their shit in order. Excuse my language.
Actual facts. That's the term. We deal with actual facts. If it
yeah,
ain't
you know what I'm saying? But let's go to this right here, because this is a Jewish scholar who is talking about the book here that I have here, the secret relationships between blacks and Jews, and listen to his words and what this book represents.
You can't hear it, bro.
Oh,
I did find some of the language.
It's not loud enough?
No, sir.
Hold on. Give me a second here. Oh, it's at 100. Let me see if I can make it louder. Hold on. Give me a second here. Bring it back.
So I read that book that they wrote.
That's better.
Okay.
It's called Anti Semitic. And what I found was
I did find some of the language to be offensive. I did find that it kind of exaggerated and went over the top, and built up a bit of a strong, kind of elaborated to it, to an extent that I felt was unfair. But having said that, I felt that they also documented facts that are unassailable, and they sourced it impeccably, realizing that because of their hard right politics, that they would be attacked and their credibility would be called into question. So they footnoted it, to the nth degree, and left tracks so that they could be followed up on and verified. And I was not able to follow up on everything, but I was able to follow up on no small amount of the claims that they made in their books. And those are the stories that I told you earlier when I spoke about that. Those were some of those were stories that I first found there, but then went to the original source just to make sure that they weren't quoting it out of context or inventing it all together. And sadly, those are truths that we have to face. We have a messy history. We have to look at it honestly, accept it, acknowledge it, if we're to make amends for it. I also read the Anti-Defamation League's response, because I thought, okay, well, maybe they're just going to show me how the Nation of Islam book is bullshit and how it's all made up, and it was a joke, pathetic. So, I don't even want to say it. It would not stand the most basic scrutiny. It was a pathetic hack job, and I expected more from them, even from them. They just completely dismissed the book outright without relating to the vast majority of his claims. So, in summary, I felt it was a bit unfair and that it was a bit demonizing, but as I said, my conclusion from my perspective that Jewish folks did participate in segregation to the same extent, approximately same extent as non-Jewish women.
All right, so as you guys can see, like I said, y'all thought I was somebody on my basketball program. I'm worse with this because I do the research. I actually take my time to do the research, and as you can see, he even said it. The ADL don't even do the research. As a perfect example, they didn't watch that movie that they helped Amazon make it the #1 movie on their platform. Again, you can't judge a book by its cover, and they never took their time out to actually do the research because they have that much power and influence. They can just say it's anti-Semitic, it goes against Jewish, life and culture, and it should just be considered that, and you shouldn't even read it. But the guy said I had to go read it, and if you take your time to read this book, I mean, I got highlights in this book for days. One of the things I learned in this book, I'm just going to reference this. I'm going to let you go in, Ben, is that the state of Georgia, when it became a state in the United with the England crown, a colony, they first didn't have slavery. It was no slavery allowed. But the Jewish community and the Jewish people are the ones that forced the crown to make slavery legal in Georgia. They instituted, they needed it to happen. They said they were not going to be able to survive without slavery. And they basically forced the England crown and to create Georgia. And obviously we all know what Georgia is. You know what I mean? Through its history. So that's in the book. It talks about the Caribbean. It talks about so much more. I have volume 2. I never got volume 3, which seems to be even more in depth, but there's 3 volumes of it. But brother, you know more about it than I do. So go ahead and let the people know, this is the history. This is what they call anti-Semitic. This is what they really don't want nobody to talk about.
I find it interesting when white folks always say that we're demonizing them. That's that's what the man said. He said that the book was he couldn't refute anything, but he felt that it was just demonizing them.
It was putting that knife in the back and twisting it, and not just putting it, twisting it. You know what I mean?
Nobody did anything extra, right? All we did was we used your scholars,
exactly.
We used your documentation,
exactly.
We used all of your records from your Jewish people, handwritten testimonials, and we gave it to you. That's all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
then you're right, bro, Kadar. They do demonize us, But it's interesting that when we're pointing out that the demons that they are, right? We don't even have to call them demons. All we have to do is what did Khaled say? I'm pulling when he was on the Donahue interview, and he was like, "You want to pull up the Pope's skirt? What kind of homosexual stuff is that?" He was like, "There's nothing homosexual about that. I'm just pulling back the covers."
Yeah, he said, I'm using a metaphor. The metaphor is to show the private parts, what that you hide from the world. He said, I'm dealing with the organs of slavery, not the organs of a body. I'm not into that. He's like, I'm not into that. He's like, I don't care what's underneath the Pope's dress.
That's right. That's right. I'm just exposing you. You know what I'm saying? And you don't like that you're naked. You know what I'm saying? You don't like that you running around naked, and we can see.
You don't want people to see the parts of you that's your shame. That's your thing.
That's
so
right.
like the guy was saying, it was hard to hear what the book was telling him, because those are his peoples. But in reality, they were on point. He said they even knew they were going to be criticized, so they even went to the nth degree. Like like the minister said, we gave you footnotes so you can go find it yourself.
That's right. That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
So books for yourself, right?
That's what they say. If you want to hide something from black people, what do?
That's what Kyrie said. I never understood that when I was a kid. That's what Kyrie said. I never understood that when I was a kid. But now I've discovered my superpower. That's what he said, right?
Yeah.
So this book.
Go ahead.
This book is. I want to jump out there and say one of the most important books that black people can have.
Oh, it is.
You know what I mean?
Oh, it is. It's without a doubt. It's without a doubt.
It gives you a serious foundation.
It's without a doubt.
You can't.
It deserves to be in high schools. It deserves to be in high schools. If you have an Afrocentric school, or you homeschool your children, once your children reach the age of 15, 16, they should be reading this book. They should be understanding slavery. They should be understanding how slavery was financed, because people don't understand slavery was an actual business. You know what I'm saying? They created racism for that business. That's what people don't understand. That's how deep that business was for them, that they had to create a whole new social construct called white supremacy.
They were the architects. These people were the architects.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like there's an article, man. What is the name of the article? Written by the Nation of Islam, but I'm trying to remember the name of the article. Hold on one second. I think I have it here. But it's dealing with the Jews, and it's again pointing out their hand in slavery. And let me see. That's what it's called. It's called Did African slave traders sell us out?
Now that's a discussion I would love to have, and I've always wanted people to debate me, because I have 3 questions for people who believe that Africans, quote unquote, sold Africans into slavery. Yes. For one, I have to ask somebody, what was the currency in which Africans used to sell Africans?
Yes, good question.
Let's start there. If Africans were selling Africans, where are the African plantations of Africans enslaving Africans? Prior to the Europeans showing up on African shores in the 15th century. And the last thing that I would like to emphasize is, if Africans were enslaving Africans and selling Africans all across the board, where are the nations and the wealth from these African nations or people that were selling out?
Selling bodies, selling women, selling children, selling them wholesale.
Exactly. So again,
because we know white people got filthy rich, right? Like,
they created a whole economic system off of it. Capitalism was invented through slavery, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because here's another book that is also very important to have right here, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust. It's written by John Henrik Clark, Slavery and the Rise of European Capitalism. This is one of the scholars that Dr. Khalid talked about that we just mentioned in the clip. And in this book, it dwells into the idea of how coming to the Americas and creating slavery created a new economic system for Europeans. There was not an economic system of slaves being sold, even in Europe prior to this. So I like to tell people that if you want to have that conversation, you're more than welcome. We can do it. And if you can answer those 3 questions for me first, then we can start having a conversation. But until you do that, you're not really knowing what you're talking about. Africans cannot sell what they don't own. In fact, most African languages don't even have a word for own. It doesn't even exist. It doesn't even exist in African languages. So owning a human being is not possible.
Can I read a quick passage from this?
Go ahead, brother. Article? Go ahead.
So this article is, did African slave traders sell us out?
Mm-hmm.
An article by the Final Call newspaper. Mm-hmm. By the way, you should get your subscription to the Final Call newspaper if you don't have one. It's the best newspaper in the land. There's no black coverage of things, being covered the way that the nation
it's the most consistent and most black related publication available to you, and it's not expensive. You can actually get it very easily. It's not hard to make a subscription.
You can get digital copies, you can get hard copies, whatever you like.
Yes,
right to your phone. Yes, sir.
Yes.
So did African slave traders sell us out? One of the most unseemly manifestations of black self-hatred is the often violently held belief that 500 years ago, Africans sold other Africans into centuries of slavery. It is heard most often when a Negro feels the need to shield whites and Jews from having to answer for their dominant role in the Black Holocaust. It was blacks who sold other blacks, quote, says the Negro. So we cannot hold whites responsible for a crime in which we participated. And by that suspect reasoning, they dismiss out of hand 500 years of the most brutal and murderous history the planet has ever known. It is almost impossible to imagine a Jewish person saying anything similar, since there were Jews that financially supported Hitler, and Jews that were soldiers and officers in the Nazi army, and Jews that delivered other Jews to the concentration camps. I don't want to hear about any Jewish Holocaust. We Jews helped Hitler. The fact is, there actually were Jewish Nazis, and at least 77 Jews were officers in Hitler's army, and the Jewish police force called the Judenrat. You know that word?
No, the Judenrat. Never heard of it. No.
Judenrat. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Okay.
Was in charge of rounding up the Jews for the death camps. They even had uniforms and Star of David badges, but no Jew allows those facts to minimize the German responsibility for their people's suffering. People who had no possible connection to the Jewish Holocaust, like the Palestinians, must pay the price even before those Nazi collaborating Jews. Only blacks seem to have adopted a strange psychosis that exculpates the white perpetrator and blames the black victim. But this interscene scapegoating wholly depends not just on a colossal ignorance of the historical facts, but on the sleight of hand deceptions of white historians who seek racial advantage, not historical clarity. One must look very carefully at the charge of black participation in the African slave trade. And as always, the very best place to start is with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He described the method used by Europeans in his genocidal pursuit of free black labor. Quote, he goes into foreign lands of our people, and the first thing he goes looking around for with his green blue eyes just to get up to is the woman, so that he can leave the seed of the devil there. The first 15th century Portuguese excursions into Africa prove the messenger to be absolutely correct. The Portuguese explorers used forced breeding on the Africans, a tactic which targets the genetic foundation of the indigenous population. European invaders deliberately created mixed race subgroups with the intention of using them to capture and enslave the native populations. This new breed would serve as a ruling class to control the massive numbers of African slave laborers required by colonies and further serve as a buffer zone between the white oppressor and his black victims. In America, we have come to know them as house niggas and mammies or Uncle Toms, and they were most often the lighter skinned slaves, the children born of rape of the black woman. Back in Africa, the horrific suffering and debasement of the black woman had a very specific economic purpose.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is the last part, and it's all
Okay.
over.
Okay.
Arriving on the Cape Verde Islands, about 350 miles off the coast of Senegal, Jewish slave merchants from Portugal in the mid 1400s sought to insert themselves in Africa's commerce and trade. Just as the message described, they kidnapped and raped African women and the mixed race offspring called Lancados were raised on the island as European Jews, practicing Judaism and respecting Jewish authority. These Lancados then were sent into the African mainland to set up an international trading post in the fine fabrics being produced by the Africans. But soon they turned on their hosts and began trading in black human beings. The Lancados literally were trained by their Jewish fathers to be slave traders. Trained in the Jewish family business of slave dealing, it was these half-breed, mixed race, or mulatto half Africans who infiltrated the black African communities seeking to satisfy the European lust for black labor. Because of their African blood admixture, deceptive white propagandists called these mixed race Jewish slave traders Africans. Blacks viewed them rightly as Europeans.
Hmm.
Given their racial and cultural distance from African society and its practice norms of thousands of years, one scholar was clear. The offspring of these Lancados and African women were called Gilos, de Terra, that's the Spanish word or something, and were generally considered to be Portuguese. The African presence, now this is they got a cover of a book by Ivan Van Sertima says the African presence in ancient America. They came before Columbus.
Hmm.
That's it.
Now, yeah. Now, listen. You know, again, the information's available, and people have to understand that. And what we don't understand a lot about is that the people who control the information, the education system, a lot of the stuff that we get, even from the movies and everything that we get, it comes from these people. They control so much of the power, and they have so much power on what it is that we can, that we can have access to. And you have to be someone first of open mind, and you have to be willing to learn, because you're gonna, when you're willing to learn, what I've learned is that you're gonna be wrong sometimes, and you're gonna find out a lot, because you're gonna find out so much things. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna be wrong a lot, so you're gonna find out a lot more. You're gonna learn more. So the power that these people have cannot be denied, and they know this. They understand their power. That's why at any challenge, at any criticism, they're quick to attack. But the minister has something that I believe that we can definitely use to understand their power and why they have such power. And people don't get it, man. They really do control so much. They control everything that we
Everything.
everything. And matter of fact, I'm gonna do this before I let the minister speak. I remember one time I used to work on a phone in a phone center, and I got a call from a random white male. He had he had a true Southern accent, so I knew I was talking to a white male, but an older white male, somewhere in his 60s and 70s. And he was telling me about the power Jews have. And I don't know why he was telling me this over the phone. He was calling to buy something, but he felt he had to tell me something about Jews. But I guess it's because he was buying something. And he told me that every time you purchase a food product and you look at the food product and you see the circle with the U on it, that stands for Union of Kosher. Union is something that Jews get 10% of every food product ever sold in every part of America. They literally get paid off of that. And that's how much power they have. Now, mind you, when he was telling me this, I wasn't really paying attention. I was trying to make a sale, but I still registered. It still registered in my head. And it still registered in my head.
That stuck with you.
Yeah. And later on, eventually I was able to realized that this man was telling the truth, and he was actually dropping some serious knowledge over the phone. I thought I was gonna get fired actually for holding that kind of a conversation with him. But this is what the minister says about, you know, about their power and how much power they possess in this country and in our lives in general.
You're not going to be free till you get past the Jews. Y'all may not want to admit this. You don't have to. Let me say it. You just think about what I'm saying. The Jews run the American Medical Association. Talk to me. The Jews run the Dental Association. The Jews run the legal. Talk to me. The Jews run education. The Jews run Hollywood. The Jews run the movie industry. And behind the scenes, the Jews run the government. That's right. Everyone in government bows to Jewish power. There are only 5.8 million people, but the president will put on his yarmulke and go to the synagogue and buck dance. You are over 30 million and he don't pay you no attention. Am I right? Am I telling the truth?
No, sir.
I never said I hate Jews. That's terrible. I never said that. I'm not anti-Semitic. All I said to the Jews was, you are an imposter. You're not the real people of God. I said these black people who have suffered 400 years fulfilling the scripture. I said these are the people that God is to visit and raise from a mental death. That's a theological argument.
I'm not gonna lie, brother. When he said you don't have to say nothing. He said, just listen, you can think it. And then he said, talk to me. But as you can see, what the Minister Farrakhan was basically trying to state is that they have that much influential power in the world and
control all the systems.
Yeah, here in America, there's a lot of stuff about history. Like you brought up Ivan Van Sertima. Ivan Van Sertima has been, gone through hell because he wrote that book about blacks coming to the Americas before that, and a lot of people were claiming that it's a scientific book. But again, archaeology. For you to have an archaeology, for you to go excavate somewhere, you have to get a grant from a college that's funded by a Jewish bank. You see what I'm saying? They saying that's how much power they have, that they can control how much history we can learn. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to say, or how much whatever we can learn, they control so much facets of our life.
All the systems.
Yeah, they have, and because they control the banks, they control governments. You see what I'm saying? And that's the thing that, like he was saying, you're not gonna be free unless you get past the Jew. Until you can understand that they are the gatekeepers.
That line right there, that line alone, you will not be free unless you get past the Jew.
They're like, you're of my age group. You remember playing video games as a kid, and you go from the left screen to the right screen. You was playing those fighting games, and you always had like that final boss you had to beat in each stage. Well, the Jew is the final boss. You feel what I'm saying? We can beat the redneck from Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? We can beat the liberal from Massachusetts. You feel what I'm saying? We can beat the Arab from Dubai. You feel me? We can beat the Chinese man from from Hong Kong. But then when it finally get down to the end, the one person you're gonna have to deal with that controls all of this, that has all of this under their mask and grass, is the Jewish man and the Jewish community. So that's what Kyrie Irving and Kanye Pope.
A lot of that is tied into our identity too, though. It's tied into our identity. That's why he said, "I don't hate Jews. I only said that you're an imposter."
Yeah,
you know, and that my people, they're the ones that fit the description of the chosen people
of what the Bible says, and that's why he said that's a theological statement. And he further, I didn't get to finish the
argument. He said argument.
He said argument, exactly. And you don't want to argue me theologically.
Mm-hmm.
Because in reality, if we go to, like you said, the Bible, that prophecy that the Bible talks about, you don't fit that prophecy. The people of America, the Black Americans who suffered 400 years of enslavement, and you know, in the diaspora of America, are the ones that are going to fulfill that's who God's going to come save. That's who God has in His mind.
So if the prophecy states that these people are going to become a powerful people after God visits them, right? And the only way that they're going to become this powerful people is if they accept what God brings to them. You understand what I'm saying? So God has brought something to you. God has brought you your identity, the knowledge of yourself. You know what I mean? And all that entails in that. You know what I mean? And a lot of us don't want to accept that. We still want to eat pig butt, right? You know what I mean? We still want to eat, Dookie noodles, right?
Drink soda. We still want to drink soda.
Right. So these things are killing us, right? It's shortening our lifespan. You know what I'm saying? It's not allowing us to be who we're supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? That's just one example of not accepting the law or the knowledge that could save you, right?
Not accepting your nature, your nature as an African human being that knows how to carry themselves,
natural,
who knows how to stand upright and stand up for themselves. Because see, that's the thing people don't understand. You got to be able to stand up for yourself, and that's what Kanye's doing. That's what Kyrie's doing. That's what the minister had to do against these people. Because I believe that speech there is actually the speech he was saying about him defending Jesse Jackson. Because that looked like it was in the 80s, if I'm correct. It looked like a very young Farrakhan. He has a lot of speeches, but he did state that I don't hate Jewish people. He said I don't talk about Jews in my lecture. See what I'm saying? But because you're using the theology of the Bible and the theology that is predicated around Moses, the Bible, and all these things, you're going to have Black people who are associated. And we're supposed to be able to associate with the Bible and God's people. You see what I'm trying to say? And that's a part of dehumanizing us and making us feel like, because that was what they enslaved us with, that we were not.
They turned us into niggas.
Yeah,
right?
they turned us into animals. They said we would.
That's why that title of that book. What is it? The documentary is from what? From Hebrews to Negro.
To not knowing yourself, and that's the thing.
What's that? How to Make a Slave. There's a book called How to Make a Slave.
Yeah, exactly.
Same concept.
And those are the same tropes that are used to say that we're not intelligent enough to do anything right. We don't have a soul. We don't have a spirit. We're not God's people. All these things were things that were used, like they said, to snatch us and kidnap us from the shores of Africa and bring us to
our natural mind, man.
Of everything. And they robbed of everything. And then they want you to apologize for telling them this is what happened to you. And this is why people like Kyrie and them stand up for themselves. And plenty of other people have stood up for themselves. Even here, let me see.
Not just that this is what happened to us. This is what you did to us. You did it. You did it. You know what I'm saying? You're the perpetrator. You know what I'm saying? That's what a man said. They're demonizing us. Yes, you the damn devil that did this. You.
Yeah. Exactly, and here it is. Before we let everybody go on and we can get on with the rest of our evening, here it is. The minister saying it best, defending himself, and because, like I said, the nation has always been known for being attacked by the ADL. They've always been known for being anti-Semitic. So nobody knows how to handle the Jewish power better than the Nation of Islam, because they've been doing it for decades. It's it's historical. So let's listen to this.
No, not at all. Not on your choice of words. Please. Not on your choice of words.
It's a case of the victim being charged with the crime. We didn't bring ourselves here. Your fathers brought us here. We didn't sell ourselves into bondage. Your fathers brought us here, robbed us of our name, language, culture, religion, God, country, flag. And for 300 years, my fathers, my mothers were hitched to the plow like some animal. The Constitution of the United States didn't protect neither me nor my people. And now today we are charged with the hatred of white people. I think that's sick.
So the audio was a little bit off with the picture, but you guys get the message. You see what I'm saying? It's what you stated about them calling us racist. You know what I mean? Because they can't handle the truth of understanding that they have a responsibility and accountability for history, because they benefit from history. And until they can truly accept their history and their forefathers for what they've done, you're going to always have black people like this. And they know this. The FBI stated this in their Rex 84 King Alfred plan. They always stated that black people will always find a way to understand where their position is at. They stated there's no way to avoid it. Even the famous words of Marcus Garvey was, you're not going to stop me. I'm a hurricane coming. You see what I'm saying? You're going to bury me, but the next person's going to come behind me. Fred Hampton said the best: you can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution. So there's always going to be black people because the information is there. Truth will always shine. Truth will always, you can blot it out for a day or two, but eventually the sun always rises every day and it will shine every day. And that's what truth is. You know what I'm saying? And Kyrie and them were just speaking their truth, and people don't want to accept that. Are Jewish people allowed to be offended? Of course you're allowed to be offended, but this ain't about this ain't personal feelings. You know what I'm saying? Kyrie has no position of power to prevent anything from the Jewish community. They get $2 billion from the U.S. every year. You know what I'm saying? Just for Israel, they get funded for their Holocaust museums, for all kind of stuff. They get grants. They already admitted they help each other out. They give each other loans and businesses all the time. That's what people don't like. They're fine. Jewish people don't have nothing to worry about. They are literally, I think somebody was saying they're like 2% or 3% of the population, but they control like 35% of the wealth in the United States.
Well, truth is they're not fine. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I mean like the root of what's really bothering them is when they see black people rising up. It's a sign of the times, right? It's a sign of it's the end of their rulership. You know what I mean? They're uncomfortable with that. You know what I mean? And, like you said, this goes back to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and, Malcolm, you know what I mean? Coming at, kicking in the door in this way, you know what I mean? Telling them that, it's the end of your world. Literally, it's the end of your world. You know what I mean? Y'all are going extinct. You know what I'm saying? Like literally. You know what I'm saying? And there was a special on TV on CNN some years ago called The Browning of America. Did you see that?
I did see that. I did see that. I saw about it. There's articles about how their population, the white population, is completely zeroing out across the board. But again, listen, they were able to get over 1 billion people poked.
That part, right?
You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying that's where they're good. Now again, their arrogance will lead to their downfall, right? We all know that their confidence, the fact that they feel they're on top of the world, eventually will be their downfall. But when that downfall will happen, man, I don't know, man. Our people are really lost.
It's in progress. We can see. Look. I mean, be honest, man. A couple years ago, we could have had these conversations that we're having right now. You know this. You have to know this, man. There was a time where I mean, it seems like, I mean, I know that when I came into my awakening, I felt alone. You know what I mean? I didn't have people like you to talk to. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't and I know a lot of people like you now. You know what I'm saying? Whereas before, it was not like this, bro. It was not like this. And I mean,
I'm still alone, brother. That's why I'm glad you joined the show. You can see I can't get no one to really converse with me about these type of conversations because people are truly afraid of for one, of learning it, because it, like you said, it hurts. This is something you're gonna have to go through. There's a grieving process to becoming conscious.
Oh yes.
You see what I'm saying? There's a point you're gonna get angry, you're gonna be upset, you're gonna be hurt, you're gonna be feeling like, damn, why I don't want to read this, I don't want to learn this. You know what I'm saying? But you have to get that, you have to get there. But there's a lot of our people. I mean, again, like I said, you have to be amongst the people, because you're very strict, you're very disciplined. you know, you cut the bullshit out quickly. You know me, I entertain the bullshit. So
Boy, I always said, look, hey man, why you keep talking to these dudes, man? Why are you still talking? Block this one, man. Block that one.
But like I told you, to reach the people, you gotta be with the people. You gotta be around.
Look, all of us ain't coming. You know what I'm saying? All of us ain't gonna make it. You know what I mean?
You got like the brother said here, like Kadar said here, it's like the Matrix, bro. Unless you plug in, you ain't gonna be able to free nobody, man. You ain't gonna be able to free nobody.
look, don't get me wrong. That's the work. Because I mean, you know, we go after our people, we trying to free them, you know what I'm saying? But in this war, we also gotta know who's who, right?
Yeah,
you know, you gotta be able to identify who the enemy is.
We can't save everybody. We can't save everybody.
And most definitely some you know, they the enemy. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
Well, you have to identify the enemy. Yes, you have to identify the enemy, and the enemy is more or less a character more than just somebody's physical, because your enemy could be a brother. Yeah, exactly. Your brother of, you know what I'm saying, a kinfolk that don't have a mind state. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so you got to know that.
What I'm saying.
You got to know that. So, man, well, brother, it's a great conversation. We should do this, like I said, we should do this once a month. Come up with some good stuff, and we can do it. So let's let everybody go, man. It's been a great show. I'll post this on my YouTube. I mean, obviously it's on my YouTube now. I appreciate you guys for joining and subscribing. It'll be on my Facebook. I'm A Johnny Bakari. You can find me on Facebook. Go ahead and let the people know where they can find you at, Ben, please.
Hey, I'm Ben Black. I've been black since the beginning of time, man. You know, you can come on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. What am I on Instagram, Johnny? I always forget that.
No, you have your indigenous African name on there. I think it's
AJ Kessie. AJ Kessie.
Yeah, AJ Kessie. So you know, because
or you can find it by Benny Blacko. It's under the same.
Yeah, under Benny Blacko. Basically, BENNY BLACKO. Yeah, Blacko with the O at the end.
Yes,
and again, it's A Johnny Bakari. You see the names listed here. Thanks for joining us. You guys have a beautiful Thursday night. Peace be upon you. Much blessings to everybody. We'll see you guys soon enough here on my channel. This is Speaking with A Johnny Bakari with guest host Ben Black. Peace, brother. Thanks, brother.
Yes, sir. Peace, God.
Peace.